Today's notes are going to be on cell organelles. You're going to make sure that you have your unit packet as well as colored pencils to do today's notes. The two types of cells we're going to focus on today are animal cells, which are typically round in nature, and plant cells, which are typically box-like in nature. The first organelle we're going to talk about today is the cell membrane, which is also known as the plasma membrane. Go ahead and put a star next to this because we're going to revisit this cell organelle a little bit later. The function of the cell organelle is to control what goes in and out of the cell. That means it's going to be like a border around the cell. So you can see in an animal cell, it's found on the outside of the cell. In a plant cell, it is found almost to the outside, but there's something else surrounding the outside, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Go ahead, and what I want you to do is to color these things yellow in your notes. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about is the cytoplasm. So every cell we have has an outside of the cell, and every cell that we talk about also has an inside of the cell. Go ahead and put a star by this one as well. The cytoplasm is just the gel-like fluid found inside of the cell. So this is going to be the inside of the cell, and it's going to hold all those organelles in place. I would like you to color these organelles blue. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about are the ribosomes. This is the last one that you're going to put a star next to. The ribosomes are responsible for producing proteins, which we know are very important in cells. The ribosomes are going to look like small black dots in the cells, and this time we're going to just leave these ones blank. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about is the nucleus. And this one is found in all eukaryotic cells, and it controls all the cell functions. Now, the nucleus can be confused with the next cell organelle, which is the nucleolus. So make sure when you're coloring the nucleus in the animal and plant cell, you color the appropriate part. And we're going to do red this time. So it's just this middle part here and just this middle part here. It does not include the little white circle inside of the nucleus. The next cell organelle we're going to learn about is found inside of the nucleus and is known as the nucleolus, which creates or produces ribosomes. And that's going to be that white circle that we found inside the nucleus. This time we're going to leave this one white. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about is the nuclear membrane. And just like the cell membrane that surrounds the cell, the nuclear membrane is going to surround the nucleus, which is found right outside of the nucleus, and it's going to control what enters and leaves the nucleus, just like the cell membrane is going to control what enters and leaves the cell. Go ahead, color that part black. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about is the mitochondria, which I'm sure you've heard of as the powerhouse of the cell. But telling me it's the powerhouse of the cell doesn't actually explain what it is. The powerhouse of the cell, or the mitochondria, is responsible for creating energy through a process known as cellular respiration. It also has a misconception that only animal cells has mitochondria, but in fact all eukaryotic cells have it, including plants. It's this little piece found in both plants and animal cells. Go ahead, color that dark blue. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about is the vacuole, which is found in all eukaryotic cells. And these vacuoles are responsible for storing water, waste, and nutrients. And in animal cells, they're going to be small white circles, while in plant cells, it's going to be one circle, but it's going to be very large. We're going to go ahead and color these purple. The next cell organelle is a lysosome, which is responsible for breaking down materials in the cell. And these are going to be another set of small white circles, but they're going to be a little bit different than the vacuole that we saw in the last one. They're found both in plant and animal cells, and we're going to go ahead and color these ones orange. The next cell organelle is the endoplasmic reticulum, also known as the ER, and it's responsible for transporting materials through the cell. The ER has two types. One is rough and one is smooth. The difference between the two is that the rough is made up of ribosomes on top, so it looks rough. Remember, those ribosomes are those dark black circles. So in these pictures, they have rough ER because there are black circles on them, or ribosomes on them. Go ahead and color these ones gray. The next cell organelle we're going to talk about is the Golgi bodies, which are responsible for packaging proteins, and then they ship it to the ER to be shipped throughout the cell. We're going to go ahead and label these ones here and color them pink. The centrioles are found in only animal cells, and these are responsible for helping the cell divide. So it's right here, and we're going to go ahead and color this one brown. Only found in animal cells. This is really important. On the reverse side, chloroplasts are only found in plant cells, and these are going to help the cell carry out the process of photosynthesis, which will take light energy and convert it into chemical energy. Go ahead and color these ones light green. Plant cells also have one more organelle that is found in only plant cells, and that's going to be the cell wall. And this is going to protect and support the cell, give it a little bit more structure. And this is found on the outside of the cell membrane, the very outside of the cell. We're going to go ahead and color that dark green. Again, this is only found in plants. So let's compare these one more time. Animal cells versus plant cells. In animal cells, we have all kinds of shapes, and they have centrioles that help with cell division. While in plant cells, they're typically box-like, have a large central vacuole, have chloroplasts, and also have cell walls. Remember when we learned in the beginning of the year about cell types? There's prokaryotes and there's eukaryotes. Do you remember what those mean? Eukaryotes, which we've been learning about all day, are organelles that have membrane-bound organelles that include the nucleus, mitochondria, ER, Golgi bodies, anything like that. And those are the two cells that we were looking at today, animal cells and plant cells. While prokaryotes are the opposite. They're organisms that do not have a nucleus or other membrane-bound organelles. And that's going to be things like bacteria. But they do have some organelles that are found in all types of cells. Every single cell has an outside or a cell membrane. So we can see here that each of these three types of cells has a cell membrane that controls what enters and leaves the cell. They also all have cytoplasm inside of the cell, and this is that gel-like fluid found inside of the cell. In addition, the last thing that they all have in common is the ribosomes, which we know makes proteins, and those are the dark circles that you can find inside the cell. Now, as a quick review, do you remember the domains that make up eukaryotic cells? Domain eukarya, correct. Do you remember the four kingdoms? We have animals, plants, fungi, and protista, while prokaryotes are made up of the domain archaea and bacteria, which are the kingdoms archaebacteria and eubacteria. Let's have a practice SOL question. How is the prokaryotic bacterium in the diagram different from the eukaryotic cell? So the first thing I do is I'd highlight the most important terms, which I know is prokaryotic bacterium and eukaryotic cell. When I think about the difference between those, I know that the difference is a nucleus. Therefore, C should be my answer. But there's also another way to do this. You could look at the word different, and I could use the picture above. Okay, cell membrane is in this cell. So the answer down here, it has a cell membrane is not different. All cells have a cell membrane. Cytoplasm with ribosomes, again, all cells have cytoplasm with ribosomes. And the last one is DNA. All organisms have DNA, so that can't be the answer either. And therefore, C must be my answer. Let's try another one. Which of the following organelle is present in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms? Again, I would highlight the most important words, and if I knew right away, the answer would be a nucleus. However, if I don't know, I could also figure out what they both have in common. And I know that ribosomes, cell membrane, and cytoplasm are the only organelles that all parts have in common, all types of cells have in common. The other three, nucleus, Golgi body, and endoplasmic reticulum, are all for eukaryotic cells because they are all membrane-bound organelles. So what I'd like you to do is complete your summary and ask at least one question on your worksheet.